Good morning. It is 10 o'clock, and this is the worst part of the day for me. Oh, when I wake up in the morning and I'm still just super tired, I don't feel like doing anything. I'm not motivated. I'll be the most productive person today, and I'm gonna edit the whole episode, everything. I'm gonna get that episode done. I finished editing the takes last night before I went to bed, but yeah, like the first hour or so, oh, it's miserable, so sleepy and tired. I don't want to do anything.
When it's horrible, bad and wrong. When it's horrible, bad and wrong. When it's horrible, bad and wrong.
You know, while that's heating up, and before I actually get started with things this morning, one thing I do want to talk about very briefly, now that I'm back in front of the computer, is the webcams title sequence. This was one of my notes for the vlog. I had this idea, and I've mentioned it to like maybe 2 people or something. I would like, just like we have an original piece of music for the end of each webcams, I kind of want to start doing that for the opening title sequence, the whole sequence, not just the music, but the whole sequence. As you know, the webcams title sequence is kind of boring, kind of bland, not the most interesting thing you will ever see. It certainly does the trick, but it could be better, and that's what I want to, you know, throw out to you guys. You know, for graphic designers, video enthusiasts, you know, make me a 10-second intro for webcams, and if it's any good, I will slot it into the rotation of the show, and we'll have something different with each episode. I think that would be really cool. So let me show you where I'm at with the editing. This is what the timeline looks like after I have edited all the takes. Now, each character's takes are separated into a different layer on the timeline, audio-visual track. So that's character A, character B is up there, and then character C is here. The next step is to assemble. So I know, like, this is the first line. I'll show you. I just assemble it word by word or line by line. I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate, but that's kind of what it looks like. I mean, it can be 20, 30, 40 minutes long before I'm done. And that's like a fully assembled with all the different takes. So I still have to go through and pick out which takes I want to use, but it's all assembled in order. And yeah, that's what I'm working on now. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens next. Rob here did the part for C in this episode, and he did a good job. I think he always does a good job. What's interesting, though, is that the part calls for deadpan.
You've seen her, right?
And I think he kind of interpreted that, Robbie interpreted that a little bit as a deep voice. You sound like George Takei, Sulu from Star Trek. I don't always expect to get, you know, the performance necessarily that I'm looking for exactly. So obviously I always look for whatever an actor can bring to it, and I think he completely, I don't say this in mean-spirited, but I think he completely missed the mark as far as deadpan. I don't know, the way I kind of felt it, it was like deadpan and uninteresting. I don't think deadpan necessarily means just a deep voice, but deadpan is just really expressionless and not interesting, and certainly not expressing much interest in anything else. So, you know, that's how I envision the character, but that doesn't mean that's how the character has to be. So I just think it's interesting that while you were aiming for deadpan, you ended up just going deep and channeling George Takei. So please don't take offense to this. I'm just trying to show people kind of the process here. So I was working on this, and I see these 2 lines here.
You've seen her, right? Your girlfriend. What does she look like?
Okay, so the C line, the actual line, this is probably the biggest, one of 2 very big challenges when working with a collab, and then why you cannot get too incredibly married to your script, and it's very organic the way the whole thing comes together. The actual line that he was supposed to say was, "You've seen her, right? Your girlfriend. You know what she looks like?" And then the next line is A going, "Yes, I mean, of course."
Yes, I mean, of course. Yes, I mean, of course.
So this is why it's very important, for the most part. I mean, it's important to follow the script as closely as you can, and try and be cognizant of, you know, the cues, because this is what happens because Rob changed up the line a little bit at the end.
You've seen her, right? Your girlfriend. What does she look like?
Yes, I mean, of course.
So now it looks like they're two unrelated lines. It's a very small change, but all of a sudden the second line doesn't fit. Now, like I said, it's not a huge deal. I just cut out.
I'm sorry.
You've seen her, right? Your girlfriend.
Yes, I mean, of course.
So I just cut out the second part of Rob's line, and that brings the dialogue together in a way that makes sense. Now, I said there's two major issues with doing scripted collabs. So obviously the first one is if the actor changes the line a little bit too much and it falls out of context, it doesn't fit anymore. The other major crisis that you'll come across with doing scripted collabs is if someone skips over a line entirely. It really can go either way. You know, sometimes the line can be inconsequential, and if it's skipped over, you know, when someone's recording their dialogue, they're going down the script, they just gloss over it and they just miss it, and it's not, you know, if you miss it, it's not a big deal. I figure out how to make it work in the editing. But there are times, and this happened recently, where just because someone missed a single line, I end up having cut out like 4 or 5 surrounding lines just to make up for that loss. But I mean, it's not a big deal. Obviously, I make it work in the editing. You know, it's part of the game. You know, it's gonna happen. So the point is that you can't get too attached to the project. You have to be flexible, and you have to be ready to pull it all together. Find a way creatively to pull it all together in the editing. Because I mean, and you're certainly not gonna say, "Rob, you bad boy, you fucked this up. You go back, do it again, give it to me right," or even worse, "You're never gonna do a video with me again." I'm not gonna say that. He didn't ruin the video by any stretch of the imagination. The only way to gain 100% accuracy in the taping is if I'm sitting right there with the actor, telling them how to say the lines and making sure every single line is recorded. I can't do that. So my goal is to just be as flexible and understanding and as possible. And a lot of times, you know, that's going to change up. I mean, it's good to not know. For me, it's good to not know what the finished product is going to be like, you know? I like that it deviates from the script when it does. Okay, took about an hour, give or take, and we are officially fully assembled. The episode was something about Peg, completely assembled. I'll show you right here. And by assembled, I mean every take of every line for all the characters, laid out on the timeline in order, and you can just see the whole thing. That's what it looks like, fully assembled, not edited, but just fully assembled. So then I will go through it and edit all the takes down and see how it all comes together. And for those who are paying it, who are interested, you can see that it's just about 35 minutes. It's 35 minutes fully assembled, and that's going to edit down probably to about a 4 or 5 minute video. So yeah, we're at 35 minutes, and obviously there's a lot of work to cut it down. So that's where we're at, and that's what an assembled episode looks like.